When I left Vienna, I stood at distance of a few meters and saw face to face the ill-famed Eichmann, E-I-C-H-M-A-N-N, the man who was responsible for the whole Holocaust. And when I then arrived from a former camp to Auschwitz, I was 1.5 meter distance, face to face, again confronted with another historical, not to say classical, mass murderer. Not only Eichmann, but also Mengele, Dr. Mengele. Now you see next Dr. Mengele standing there in Auschwitz at the railway station where he stood, and we had to march one after the other, and he made such a movement, right or left, see? And this meant those who were sent to the left were immediately sent to and into the gas chambers. And those who had been ordered to the right side, which was the minority, they were sent later on, after a couple of days, into some camps, concentration camps in Germany. The next picture shows you what remained from the poisoning gas containers. Cyclone B was the poisoning gas that was used. This picture was made in Auschwitz, in the Auschwitz Museum. Next, please. These are the ovens where the gas people had been cremated. There was not a gas oven in which people died, but they were gassed in gas chambers, pressed about 1,000 in one sweep, pressed together naked, male and female together naked. And then, as I heard, you may understand with what feeling I heard it from one of the former prisoners who had to work as an operator in the gas chambers. It took the prisoners 13 minutes to die. 13 minutes to die. Of course, they lost their consciousness earlier, but what is called in German Todeskampf. Yeah.
Struggle with death.
Struggle with death had the duration of 13 minutes. Now, the next, please. This is a room where we were brought into the first in Auschwitz. It was a disinfection room. We had in this room, I believe I said it in my book on the concentration camp, in this room we had within 1 or 2 minutes to be freed of all, stripped totally, and in this room we lost everything we had on ourselves, including any hair and so forth. And I lost in this situation the first manuscript of the book, The Doctor and the Soul, which I had done afterwards to the luck to be able to reconstruct it and to rewrite it finally. The next, please. These are, you see, wooden things on which on three levels, on each level, 9 prisoners had to lie. It was impossible to lie on the back, you had to lie only on one side. 9 prisoners. So in such a thing, there was altogether 27 people during the night. I had only to spend 2 nights to be sure. The next camp to which I was transported was the camp Kaufering in Bavaria. And the next and last was Türkheim, also in Bavaria. Let me share with you 2 very small and seemingly at first sight unimportant experiences I had. But to me, as someone who has to do some connection, after all, with logotherapy, they have a great meaning. Inasmuch as you might have come across some such statements in logotherapy, in the anthropological foundations of logotherapy, that is to say, where the logotherapeutic concept of man, the answer to the question, what is intrinsically and basically the making for the humanness of any human being. We discern two things, two human capacities. The capacity of self-distancing and the capacity of self-transcending, of self-transcendence. And now I may illustrate it by two things that happened in the concentration camps. Over the snow, the fields covered with snow, in bitter cold, about centigrades below the 18 centigrades. Early in the morning, around about 5 o'clock, we had to march about 3/4 of an hour to the site where we had to make heavy physical work, constructing
supports.
No, it's underground, tunnels and underground ammunition fabric,
bunkers,
manufacturers, yeah. And you may easily imagine how triste the whole situation was. And then I started to play a trick upon myself by ordering myself to imagine I'm now standing behind a lectern in a large lecture hall, in a warm lecture hall, being confronted with an interesting and attentively listening audience. And I'm speaking about this topic under the title, The Psychology of Concentration Camps. And I'm talking exactly about what I right at that moment was experiencing. And thereby, I put a distance between myself and the real situation, and I was detaching myself from the reality, the triste, absolutely triste reality, and thereby, by trying to adapt or embrace a strictly scientific, objective view to the situation, I obtained a distance to it. This was the capacity, I was mobilizing the capacity of self-distancing. And then, half a year later, I was suffering from typhus exanthematicus in medical terms. And my fever was even higher than 40 centigrades. And I knew that there was immediate life danger, collapsing, the vascular system collapsing due to the fever. And a friend of mine, another inmate of the same camp in Bavaria, stole in the office of the SS of that camp so small forms. And on the back, on the free back, I jotted down, even during night, keywords that should allow me, keywords partially by shorthand writing, keywords to enable me later on, if I survive, the reconstruction of the manuscript.